Okay, so those are some examples. How can you, in your environment, get started with value stream mapping? So, in value stream management, I've already given you some good references, and hopefully this webinar is helping you a little bit. Just to take an example, this is a large insurance company. They were creating basically a modern version of an existing insurance policy application that was used across, literally globally. Their current state value stream map is a little more complicated, and this is not unusual. Sometimes they're not just serial maps. You may have some branches and that, but um, they weren't actually 100% sure what their timings were because they never had yet accomplished a release of this new version of their app. They thought it would take 45 days to complete the release, but they were aware, because that's where they were at the time that we were doing this work, how long it was taking to get up to the point of of at least completing some testing. And turns out that they were spending a lot of time in quality assurance in parallel with development, and then they had broken their testing into different groups, different departments, depending on what kind of test was being done, performance testing, end-to-end testing. You can see that the timings here are measured in days, not hours or weeks, but days, um, up to 55 days just to get a quality test plan together, and up to 40 days just to do end-to-end testing. So those are some of the, if you like, critical paths through the value stream that needed to be addressed in this case. When you're doing that and you've got a map and everybody agreed, yep, that's the right way to represent our value stream, you then look at the, where are the key bottlenecks, rank them. What do you think are the most important? Try to identify where you might make improvements. Maybe this actually it's a different case, but in this case the approvals phase or stage was their highest rank because it took the longest 9 days, so they could automate their approval process. That's a tactic or strategy. The second was to automate the next biggest bottleneck, which was downloading uh, COTS applications from the source of COTS that they were using. And the third was to codify their backlog planning process. So you can see that they wanted to get down to 2 weeks, and this started off being a lot more than 2 weeks. This is a very simplified view of the value stream, but it gives you the idea of how you go about doing these things. You look at your current state value stream map, you identify where the biggest bottlenecks are, you also identify what would be the potential impact if you were to shorten them, depending on what your goals are. If it's lead time, then it's typically timing. If it's quality, then these would be different metrics, and you rank them. And then you start it with some expertise, usually as a consultant and some of the other architects and so on, decide, well, what could we do about this? What actually could we change? What tools, processes, or even people or organization changes could we do to help improve and meet our goals? So in this case, going back to the large insurance company, the solution was to attack those two big bottlenecks through replacing the middle two stages with three, actually, but make them more traditional dev, CI, and staging, and but introduce release automation capabilities for automating more things end to end rather than having separate processes that were more manual. Introducing some automation in scanning tools and code coverage tools to give them assurance about their quality. They weren't using those things. They were using some manual methods. And QA automation being employed in development. A new test environment automation framework using value stream management actually to help drive automation. So those are the ideas. They wanted to get down to, well, they didn't really know because they hadn't really 100% identified how long it would take them for this first release, but they knew that 45 days was not a good number for the future. They were talking about maybe 2 weeks instead of 45 days. Okay, so that's an example of what you can do to, this is the future state for that large insurance company after we made that analysis. So it's a much more traditional looking value stream, and we identified specific improvements throughout the value stream of what we could do to get it down to 10 days from integration through to deployment. Okay, that's basically the primary content for this webinar. I want to point out that at the DevOps Institute, which I'm a part of and that Learning Tree is a partner of, uh, has a lot of cool courses. A lot of them do involve uh, value stream management concepts and value stream mapping concepts. So the DevOps Leader course, the DevOps Foundations course are a good place to get started. If you're a leader, definitely that's a good one. If you're just trying to understand DevOps in general, Foundations. If you want to know more about security in DevOps, the DevSecOps course, continuous testing. I actually wrote the continuous testing course. I was the author. If you want to know more about testing, I often find, as you can see from the prior examples, testing is often the biggest bottleneck, so I think that's good to understand. Agile process owners, Agile can help a lot with value streams and have Agile service management. The continuous delivery ecosystem course is more technical, more for like architects. I was actually the author of that as well. The site reliability engineering foundations course helps with imparting the wisdom of production back up the value stream, and value stream mapping can help with that as well. There's some other courses coming along, I know. There's a practitioner's version of the site reliability engineering course that's now available, and some others under development. But fundamentally, the DOI has courses that especially help with the strategic level of these things, understanding foundational level, which is a good thing to understand before you get into the details. I like to use the analogy Learning Tree has, where you want to start learning by understanding the trunk and the branches of your learning tree before you get into the details, and that's what this is all about. And that's my part of the talk. I'm going to turn it back over to Jen, and I hope you learned something.
Thank you so much, Mark. So this slide has a couple of more courses outside of the DevOps Institute suite of courses. So Learning Tree does offer a wide variety of training that could help you with value mapping, value management, and overall value delivery. Many titles in the Agile project management and IT service management space. Just to let you know what you can expect after this webinar, we did get a couple of questions about this. You will receive the slides and a recording of this event after the event. Typically within a week, you'll get an email and it'll have those items in it. It'll also have a link to download Mark's book, his ebook. That link will be live throughout the month of August, but don't delay in getting your copy of that because it'll only be available through August 30th. And now with that, now it's time to go over some questions. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat pod for Mark, and we'll get those answered for you. I see a couple coming in right now, so that's great. To start it off here, my apologies. There's also some poll questions at the bottom. If you could take a moment to answer these final poll questions so we can see how you think we did and maybe queue up some great topics for you for the next event. Okay, so Mark, here's our first questions. Is value streams a subset of Agile methodology for problem solving?